Xbox, Record This is a podcast celebrating all things gaming, food, and the good old days. If you'd like to find out more, head to xboxrecordthis.com. Oh, hello, DaddyDWALLY here, and welcome to Xbox Record This, episode 35. And I should have said slightly, the caca is back. So sick diarrhea, DaddyDWALLY is back, unfortunately. I had Papa John's last night, one of my top 5 pizzas. Allie and I are thinking there was something fishy in there, but interesting. I did try the...
Sardines?
No, I did try the New York style. I thought New York style was more thin.
Yeah,
It's
me
really
too.
just bigger. It's just a bigger piece of pizza, and
The commercial,
it's
they
a
even
l-
say they like stretch
yeah,
the
it's a
crust out.
little bit thinner. But to me, I was like, I'm not noticing much of a difference here. It's not really thin crust. It is thinner, but it's not thin crust, and it's big pizza, big slices. So in case you're wondering, and just standard, Papa John's has the best stuffed crust. It's incredible. So joining me, as always, the assistant to the co-host, Chipotle Bear. Chipotle Bear, how are you?
I am doing all right, Daddy DWALLY, coming to you from day 4 of my official COVID quarantine. Immediately following Christmas, we got that gift that keeps on giving, and by that I mean COVID. My entire family, both my daughters, my wife, myself. So the last couple of days have not been super great in terms of being sick, and today actually felt good enough to record, so thankfully my co-hosts and my manager, Daddy DWALLY, were able to record. Doing all right though, just hydrating a lot, lots of zinc, lots of cold medicine, Mucinex. That's what everybody told me is like just hydrate and take lots of medicine and rest I have. So excited to talk about some games I've been able to play, few and far between, but other than that, happy to be here, man.
Yeah, I was just saying, so everybody tested positive, or you're just assuming?
No. So it was first day was me and Victoria, my wife, both tested positive, and at that day the girls didn't test positive; they were both negative. So we were like, okay, now we have to try to quarantine from a 7 and 4-year-old who want nothing other than to be around us. So we were all wearing masks inside, and that wasn't very fun. And then the next day, Penelope tested positive, and our Scarlett, our youngest, didn't. And she held out for like 2 days where she was totally fine. And we were like, how is this girl never caught it? Mind you, Penelope already had COVID. She had COVID back in October. So sure enough, yesterday, Scarlett tested positive too. Like, it's just, we all are in the house together. We can't leave. Like, inevitably it was going to happen because a
How did you
4-year-old can't
do
just take care of themselves.
your tests? Was this rapid or like just store test or something, or did you go
Yeah,
to
the store-bought
Kaiser? Did
test.
you
I
go to
mean,
the
right now, Kaiser,
COVID
you
check
can't get
Colorado?
one until
Yeah.
a week or two out. And so their recommendation from Kaiser is go get rapid tests. And that's awesome, except if you can't find them, which they were actually kind of hard to find around here. Thankfully, my uncle had some. We had some on the side, which were really cool. And a cool quick tip, I'll send it to both you guys when we're done. If you're a teacher in Colorado, you can actually get free tests sent to your house from the state. You just have to fill out this form, and it's a Google
Not a
form, which I
teacher.
know you're thinking like, that sounds fishy. Well, if you work in a school, which you work in schools, you can get some free tests sent home. So we actually got some for
please.
Victoria, and then we resent it for myself and her again. So all in all, man, hanging in there. And like I told Daddy DWALLY before we started, I'm actually really grateful that it hasn't been worse. Like I'm vaccinated. I had both my shots. I got the booster, and I still got COVID, unfortunately.
So everyone
and
with Scarlet was vaccinated, right?
correct. All 3 of us were, and we all got it. And, I think that just shows like the severity of the disease itself. And, just be safe out there, because again, I'm grateful we don't have to be in a hospital. Like the worst thing is we have to be in our house for 10 days, but it could be worse, man. So I'm grateful.
Thank God you guys are vaccinated, and it's hopefully not. I mean, you've had some pretty tough symptoms and whatnot, but it seems like you're doing way better, and that has definitely helped. And I also just want to say, unfortunately, I called this last week jokingly. I was like, "Oh, got that Omicron," and sure enough, Chipotle Bear got it. So
A day later, I
cursed
was
him.
positive. Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm really wondering if I had it, because I remember I had that horribly bad runny nose, sneezing, didn't feel well, was tired, and I'm like, oh, it's just a cold. And I should have went and got tested. This was right like the day after we got back from Hawaii, so who knows? I told Jose that maybe I gave it to him, unfortunately. Joining us as always, the assistant to the co-host. Hopefully I didn't give it to chance, and all of his family.
Yeah.
Annie.
Bubble
No,
Boy and
yeah,
Seven.
I think we're good over in the Siegel house. I missed the show. What was that? 2 weeks ago. But that was only like 2 days worth of sick, so I can't imagine that's what it was. Getting tested tomorrow, and yeah, we got the baby at home, so we're trying to be extra super, you know, staying at home and masking and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
So
You are getting
Yeah.
tested, you said, tomorrow?
yeah, tomorrow
Okay.
at the
Does this mean
APS
I need to?
PLCC.
Yeah.
It's not doesn't hurt.
COVID,
It used to hurt.
COVID
It's
check,
not that
Colorado?
brain scratcher anymore. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, and
I'm
then
so
my
used to it
booster-
anyway.
I
I don't
know.
even care.
My
I've done it
booster
so many
is
times.
not scheduled. It's scheduled out until like January 13th or something. And I
really?
signed up a while ago for that. Yeah.
Dang. Through.
Yeah, that's Kaiser.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how I
So-
got mine with Kaiser. I lucked out. Yeah, because I remember.
Well,
got
and
mine a long time ago, though. So
mine's a
it's fun.
stupid, I guess, a side note because I had to do all those allergy shots for a long time. So
Oh, yeah.
I have to get special permission to do it, and I'm like, no, I've already had two. I'm not allergic to it. Just give me the
Oh, yeah,
fucking
that's
shot.
right. I forgot
Give me the effing
being
shot.
allergic.
Mark clip. That's in beta. Can you mark?
Oh my gosh, did he curse? I didn't even hear it. Guys, let's move into some more positive news and let's go to one of my favorite parts, shout outs. And we've got a massive shout out. Let's give the biggest of XRT shout outs to Mr. James Shields, senior product planner at Xbox, and Todd, I hope I'm saying this correctly, Kaumans, supervising producer at Xbox Marketing. They both liked my tweets about Power On, the story of Xbox, on official XRT, our quote, or our tweets, and the one where James had quoted, is anybody watching it? I said, we're learning so much. So huge shout out to James and Todd. Please, guys, if you're listening out there, we'd love to have you on the show. Or just if you got any big news topics, just send them our way, and then we can break it and then put us on the map. So again, thank you so much to Todd and James. Another shout out, as usual, X Bacon Gaming writing in, always solid. He said on the last episode, Micro Center would be my sponsor of choice. I've spent
That's a
over
good one.
15,000 in that place. If you boys need any computer building help, let me know. Well, Bacon, I've never built a PC, but I'm interested now, especially if someday down the road, after all of this stupid COVID and microchips shortage comes around, maybe I will have you build me a little PC. But fun fact, I've never been inside a Micro Center. I didn't even know they existed. And I was like, you haven't been to Micro Center? Was that you, Jose? Somebody said that to me. Maybe it was Snelling. Non-shout out to Snelling. And he was like, yeah, I've been there all the time. Apparently it's a big deal. So...
Yeah. They're in
Micro
Aurora too.
Center.
I've never been
Yeah.
inside one, but I know what they are. They're just not anyone near
Yeah,
us.
I've seen them too because I've seen a lot of refurbished 70 whatever inch LG OLEDs that were like marked down. It's like maybe I should pick one up there at this Micro Center. So, but I'm like that place is sketch.
Yeah, that's also, side note, a danger of COVID. The amount of times I've looked at OLEDs over the last couple of days because I'm like, well, I'm going to be stuck here for 10 days is dangerous. Just want you to know.
The shopping, COVID shopping. And then another big shout out, another comment from our fan of the show, Little Miss Ames, aka Lauren. She wrote on our last video, between the horrible acidic hot caca chipotle diarrhea, yo mama jokes, hashtag nerd clusters shout outs, and the blatantly obvious Spider-Man movie spoiler at the end. What a wild ride start to finish. Such a simp for XRT. So huge shout out to Lauren. Thank you for writing it. I didn't spoil anything. I didn't spoil it.
I think you kind of did. I was listening to it again today.
Stop.
I didn't say... I said a character is in it.
Stop.
That's not a spoiler. That's not a spoiler.
Oh, considering one time I said it was good, and you're like, enough with the spoilers, James.
I agree.
Now I know it's good. Enough
I
with the
hate
spoilers.
But we
So
all
stop.
know
Stop.
from the marketing material, certain
No, we
people
don't. No,
are going
nobody
to be
knows.
in this movie.
Stop
That's all I'm going to say.
talking.
Anyway, what you guys need to go see it. No one cares.
I can't
Everyone has COVID.
yet. Well, I can't literally for the
Go
next
ahead,
6
Jose.
days. But on a side note, I actually got Penelope to start watching all of the Spider-Man movies with me. So we watched all three Tobey Maguire ones. We already finished the Lizard one with Andrew Garfield, and now we're on to Electro. And then we're going to watch the Tom Holland ones. And then when we're all done, our gift to ourselves is we're going to go see the Spider-Man.
Go see. I'm telling you, you're going to love it. It's going to be perfect after watching all this. But I will say, I never liked the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man films villains. I always thought they were a hot caca. Never been a fan of Jamie Foxx's Electro.
Oh, I thought the Electro one was good, dude.
Oh my gosh. And he gets I'm not going to say anything. Well, you already know he's in the movie. Way too much screen time in No Way Home.
Dude, he's like an Oscar-nominated actor.
Yeah,
that was what, decades ago? What has he done really well since then?
Dude, you only have to do a couple,
commercials.
and then you don't have to do anything. That's literally how it works.
I'm not saying he can't act, but I'm saying as this character, it's not very appealing. I've never liked him, but I do like Andrew Garfield. I feel bad for him.
Yeah,
I feel like he should have gotten more respect and probably continued on to star Spider-Man.
And a trilogy. He should have gotten.
So I got to jump in here because the car wash that I go to, Richie's Car Wash. Huge shout out to Richie's Car Wash in Parker. Check out what the Can you? Is it?
Oh, that's what that tweet
yet?
was. Yeah. I saw it.
Read it out. We can't see it.
You have to read it. It won't show up on the screen.
So one of the guys that works there, he just I go mindless in because I have a monthly pass thing, and I'm just like, ugh. And he knocks on my window, and I'm like, what the hell's what? And so he's got this sign that says, "Who's the best Spider-Man?" And then Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, or Tom Holland. And I was just like, this is incredible. And I rolled down my window. And
what was your vote?
Well, Andrew Garfield, and so we had a little bit of a debate, and it's not that the movies were the best. I thought, and I asked him that. I was like, well, so because that's
did he
hard
say
to
Tom
separate.
Holland?
So he actually did say Tom Holland. Yeah,
the younger
and
kids, of
and I was like, well, what's you're keeping score, right? You're keeping track, and he was like, I'm not officially, he said, but there's a lot of old people that come here, and so Tobey Maguire is definitely killing it right now. And I was like, oh, how fun. And then it made me think, so next time we might have to rank Batman. Ooh, not the movies, but the.
Oh no, let's say that for before the Batman launches.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah. So then, because I went with Andrew Garfield as my favorite.
I'm surprised.
Actor of the. I thought
he's
he was
the best
great.
Actor, legitimately. And I do think Tom Holland's probably the second best actor of all of them. But to me, I love that.
Tobey Maguire never made sense to me.
I don't know, man. For me,
I mean, he did good. He was real corny though. He was real corny in those. They were built to be corny movies.
Yeah, but that was Sam Raimi. That's his name, right?
Yeah.
So that was his influence on it.
So if you're ever in Parker, huge shout out to Richie's Car Wash there right off of Lincoln and Parker. Just funny. I was like, oh, that's great. So.
I haven't thought of Parker since I moved. Let's move on to. Opening warm-up question. Bubble Boy, why don't you pull it away or tell us about it? What are you doing?
So, sad news if you've ever even seen a football in your life, I'm sure you know who John Madden is, and probably even if you don't like football, you know who John Madden is because of his foray into the video game universe as well. And so he passed away on Tuesday of this week, and so obviously watching football day to day,
Rip Madden.
Yeah, and that documentary came out on him on Christmas, and just man, that dude, holy cow, he lived life to the fullest, and I was just like, man after my heart, right? So many things they kept saying. He just food and football. He just loved food and football.
Well, let's give our listeners who don't know anything about football some context. John Madden was a head football coach of was it LA Raiders at the time?
I think it was Oakland.
Whatever the Raiders were at the time.
LA and then
but here's the thing. I didn't know this. Didn't he go to like 5 straight AFC champions or something like that? And he was a Super Bowl winner.
His resume is insane. Yeah.
Then he went into broadcasting. He played.
Mm-hmm.
Then he went into broadcasting. Was one of the most famous broadcasters for NFL. Obviously, then the football franchise started in the early. 90s.
Don't forget, he was also in Little Giants. Key role in that movie.
In Little Giants, yeah.
And Bubble Boy, so tie it in here.
Yeah.
We're remembering Madden.
Yeah, and so
even though we hate their games at this point, we haven't been playing them. And I almost bought it, but I was like, I can't do it. EA, I can't do it. I'm gonna wait till it's on Game Pass for free.
No, and his games are the Madden games. Honestly, one of the big reasons that I think they're unplayable to this point for a lot of reasons, but one, he's not in it anymore, and Chris Collinsworth isn't announcing it anymore. But back when it was him and Pat Summerall, man, a yearly purchase and mark it on my calendar.
Old days. So, the good old days.
Yep.
So this inspired your idea.
Yeah, of the Mount Rushmore of video game icons, because John Madden is like, he could have his own Mount Rushmore. Like if there is, there's Mount Rushmore, and then the Native American guy that they're
Crazy
building.
Horse. Yep, it's been the same for 20 years. I went there back in high school. It looks exactly the same.
Yep.
Let's do our Mount
maybe
Rushmore.
John Madden would be the crazy horse there. Like
Actually, real quick for fun, before we begin, hands up, everybody. Can you tell me who's on the real Mount Rushmore without typing it in?
Washington,
George
Jefferson,
Washington,
Adams,
Roosevelt, Lincoln.
I think I just killed it.
Who said Adams?
Trump.
Who said Adams? Dave, did you say Adams? No, Adams is not on there.
Jefferson,
Washington, Jefferson, Roosevelt, Lincoln.
Roosevelt. Oh,
Trump
Lincoln.
in a MAGA
my
hat
God, yeah,
wasn't
that was
on there?
my bad. I should have known. I was pretty good. I killed Chance,
You did pretty
though,
good.
that's for sure. I couldn't remember. How did I forget Lincoln? For some reason, I thought Lincoln Memorial. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. And I'd like
All right,
to.
continue.
I think we should get George Bush Jr., George W. on there for just the amount of comedic genius that he's supplied us with for 8 years.
You want Will Ferrell
to be
as
fair,
GW on there?
Why was Teddy's the one that's kind of random on there? Should have been FDR, if anyone, I feel like. But
Yeah, but at
Jose-
the time it was commissioned, though.
Oh, okay. So, Jose, why don't you lead us out here? Because I'm interested to hear. I don't know what your video game knowledge is.
So I've always played Madden and I like Madden, but I don't have the same affinity that you guys do. So while I fully respect where Chance was coming from, and I'm sure Madden is on his Mount Rushmore, which is totally fine, I didn't put Madden on mine.
No, I didn't put Madden on mine either.
Oh, you guys didn't. So he totally
Love
brought
Madden,
him up and
but
then
like,
shunned
I'm
him.
thinking,
No,
influences on the
he's-
video gaming world. Yeah, these
So they
guys
kept
created
talking about
iconic
he's
franchises.
He's on the Mount, like he is the Mount Rushmore of football, and so I was like, oh well, what would it
Got
be
it.
for video games? Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, the one that I had to start with that I feel like most of us are probably going to have is the Shigeru Miyamoto. He's the founder of Nintendo, and not just Nintendo, but like all the intellectual properties. He did Zelda, he did Mario, he did Star Fox. I mean, literally all of the major players that we've ever played in childhood were his brainchild. So he definitely would be my Washington on mine. After that, I was trying to think about like different genres and games, and I didn't want to just do like founder of PlayStation, founder of the other ones. Because the Xbox one I thought was actually kind of hard. Like, who would you put as like the head person for Xbox? Like, would you put Blackley? Would you put Phil Spencer? Would you put Ed Freeze? Like, there's a lot of people that I could fill that role. But anyway, I ended up going with John Carmack. Do you guys know who John Carmack is or what he is known as?
Is he Mortal Kombat guy?
Good guess.
No, I remember. As soon as you tell me, I'll recognize. But
He is the Doom guy. He was the guy who invented Doom.
That's right. Doom. Yep.
And so, I just feel like when you talk about first-person shooters, which in today's world is easily a mega chunk of gaming, like you got to give props to the first guy that not only built the first-person shooter, but also then brought it into like online stuff and competing against your friends. So I had to put him on our John Carmack. My number 3 was Nolan Bushnell. That you probably wouldn't know his name, but he was actually the guy who created Pong, and he founded the Atari Corporation. And again, we don't really talk a lot about Atari on this show, but if we're talking about iconic people that have influenced the industry, I feel like that has to be in there because everything it predates NES and Sega and everything we always talk about. But before that, there were video game systems. X Bacon actually mentioned that one time when he was talking about his first system was like the 3DO or something like that. It was like way a bit before the NES. You remember what it was, Dan?
No, I don't remember, but that just means X Bacon's old, apparently.
Odyssey?
No, he told us what it was in one of his things.
Bacon,
I forgot. I'm
tell
sorry
us
about that,
what it
Bacon.
was,
My
you
bad.
old man.
And then
Is
number
Bacon
4,
our age, by the way?
a little bit
he's
older.
37.
Sorry,
That's
Bacon.
how old DWALLY is now.
Oh, yeah. Guys, I'm going to be 38 this year. FMA. Anyway.
And then my number 4, just because storytelling has to be an important place, and because we do talk some crap, but he would be hilarious to not have him on there. Good old Hideo Kojima has to be my number 4. He'd be my Teddy, my Roosevelt on the end there.
Oh, no.
Oh,
He
perfect.
deserves to be. I'll go next,
Perfect,
Chance.
perfect,
Good
perfect.
list. Good list. So, actually, I have a few similarities with you, Jose. Of course, I've got Miyamoto. Everyone talks, what is it? A bad game delayed will eventually be a good game. Well, a bad game will always be a bad game, blah, blah, blah. For creating Super Mario, Donkey Kong, Star Fox, and Zelda. Like, Zelda is one of my favorite franchises.
Yeah, straight
of all
up,
time.
dude.
So, and Super Mario World, my gosh, an amazing game. And then I had Hideo Kojima, and I just said for creating Metal Gear Solid. That's all that needs to be said. It's true. That game was revolutionary. I don't think people understand how crazy revolutionary that game was. For so many reasons, we've talked about it. Xbox record this Hideo Kojima podcast. Sure, let's do it. Then, an influence for me, It has to be the Todd father. I wrote Todd Howard, man. He worked. He was a huge role on Morrowind, Oblivion, Fallout 3, Skyrim, Fallout 4, and now Starfield. These are some of my
That's a
most
good one.
favorite Western RPGs ever. And I didn't play any Fallouts until Fallout 4. Fallout 4 was my first one that I played on the Xbox One, and then I went back and played 3 in New Vegas. So I know he wasn't a part of New Vegas, but like these franchises, incredible. So you got to have the Todd father on there. And every time I've mentioned this, I watch him on an interview. You can tell he's a smart dude, and he knows what he's talking about. So mad respect for Todd Howard. And this is one that I don't know if any of you guys may have had this. I wrote down two people because they're like so intertwined. Dan and Sam Hauser. Do any of you
Yep,
guys
they're
know?
on my
Okay.
list. They founded Rockstar Games.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Basically, I said Dan, after researching him a little bit, basically wrote and produced all of the Grand Theft Autos from Grand Theft Auto London, which was way back on PlayStation, Red Dead Redemptions, Max Payne 3, LA Noire, Bully, basically all things Rockstars, all the best hits. He and his brother produced all of those games. Insane. And I think they recently left, and like it was a big deal, and I don't know what they're doing now.
Dan left.
Okay.
And
so
Sam,
is,
I believe, is still...
Okay, so Dan, but he was the one who did a bunch of writing, so that's a big deal. And if he ever goes back to gaming, I mean, he's probably, like I remember Colin Moriarty saying on Sacred Symbols, rich beyond rich, and he didn't have to do anything. But if he ever does come back, man, whoever gets him, that'll be a big get. And then an honorable mention, and I had to include him, and I saw him on this, I don't know, Chance, did you see the IGN list of the best? Yeah. I put Marty O'Donnell. The score of Halo 2 was the first video game soundtrack to ever reach the Billboard charts, according to IGN. His music is so iconic from Halo. I had to have him on there. The music in Halo is just, it's insane. Everybody knows it, and it's incredible. And you gotta get the especially from an Infinite, man, when it kicks in, incredible.
And did you get to the propaganda tower where the grunt is singing it?
No, I didn't. Dude, when I went on Legendary, I was just destroying those as quickly as possible because I was like, I got to get rid of these. I've heard and seen some cool clips. There are a lot of Easter eggs in those propaganda towers, and a lot of it is Joseph Staten. It has to be his voice as those grunts acting that out. So that is my list. Bubble Boy, let's hear you close it out.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it's interesting, and because I'm glad you all had 4, and you recognized, despite the honorable mentions, that there were 4 people. I'm glad I purposely didn't tell you top 5 because it was Mount Rushmore, so you passed that test. I went back and forth between Todd Howard and Sam Hauser, and I ultimately went with Sam Hauser just when I did do a little bit more research and found out how much their fingerprints, him and his brother, were all over all of those games. Like anything that has to do with Rockstar, they had a lot to do with, from the developing standpoint to the story standpoint. And I have so much respect for Rockstar, even though they're not necessarily my all-time favorite of games, just their business model and the way they do things. They're not going to put a game out unless it is going to be like...
minus the remastered trilogy that just came out. Absolute caca.
Yeah, it didn't get a lot of good reception.
But you're
People
right.
are
No,
paying
Red
for
Dead and Grand Theft Auto, the stories, the details, we love those games. They're,
Yep.
out of respect, they're like some of the greatest ever, whether or not you enjoy them, even if they're a little old and clunky too.
They're what so many people think of when they think of video games, right? Red Dead Redemption and Grand Theft Auto and stuff. And so I'll not skip, but I had Kojima and Miyamoto too. Those are obvious. The one that I had that was different from the rest of you then, and this one took quite a bit of searching for me because I really wanted to have a little diversity on there, and I wanted to have a female. And so I started looking at a lot of different females in gaming, which was noticeably absent, and there were so many that had to do with little bits here and there. This person wrote that, and this person wrote that, and so I ultimately went with Bonnie Ross, who was also on that Pioneers panel that we watched the other day, just because of how much of an impact she has had overall. And then because we talk, XRT, this is an Xbox podcast, she's the Microsoft lifer, I think is what they called her. She's been there for her entire career, and right now she's the head of 343, but she's been the corporate vice president of Xbox Game Studios, and just like a super, super impressive resume. So had to have Bonnie Ross
cool.
on there.
I like that. Huge shout out to Bonnie Ross, and I'm so proud of 343 for nailing Infinite. Hands down, 343's best Halo by a long shot, and I'm so excited for the future, you guys. So pumped. Let's roll right into it. So thank you, Bubble Boy, for that warm up.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Let's roll into what we've been playing, guys. I'll start this off. I am just depressed because I just want to play more Halo. I've done everything, Chance. The only achievement I'm missing is the medic one for the game mode that is not out. And I'm depressed. I even started playing the campaign again on Heroic because I'm like, I love this campaign so much. I want to play it again. I've done everything, but I'm really sad that I don't have more campaign to play. And they set it up, and we'll have to do the Halo spoiler cast soon. At the end, where like clearly he's in another area, and like that. I was actually talking to Bacon, or he was messaging me on Xbox last night, and he's like, "Dude, rumors are." I don't know how this is true, Bacon, but there could be some DLC this year. And if they could like produce stuff like Destiny can, like give me something huge every year, oh my gosh, I would love it. I like Destiny, but I am not anywhere at all interested in the story. I still don't know what's going on, Chance. It doesn't grab me. It hasn't grabbed me like Halo's campaign has. And if I could get more of this campaign, I am all for it. So been in a lull, didn't know what to play. I started Guardians of the Galaxy. I am on chapter 3, so I did the first one and the second one. And, everyone's like, this game is incredible. It's one of the best this year. Hasn't quite, pulled me in. Like Chance, I remember even started it and wasn't like sucked in right away. And don't get me wrong, I think it's beautiful. I think the voice acting is amazing. But I think my biggest problem with it so far is like everyone thinks this is so cool. I'm like, did you guys not see the movies? Or did you not play the Telltale series of this? Like, and I feel like a lot of people didn't. I'm like, I feel like I've seen this before, like the movies are so good. And then the Telltale one was really good too. I'm just like, I don't know. I shouldn't do this. I'm like comparing it to those other, creations of the IP, but, I'm enjoying it, but I'm not like, oh man, I got to keep playing it. It's weird. Like, and I think the combat so far has been a little meh. Bubble Boy,
the combat's really basic. Yeah.
Does it get any better? I feel like it's just going to be me calling in people
you add the different moves from the other Guardians, but and I didn't go into. I'm not going into it like looking for a great game with great gameplay. I'm looking at it, the narrative experience and the visual experience and the auditory experience, because I do love the music. One of the greatest songs ever written is on that soundtrack, which is The Warrior by Scandal.
Yeah. And I like the dialogue so far, but sometimes I'm like, okay, guys, shut up. Like, seriously, like, but maybe that's a part of it because the Guardians are like that. They're always bickering and fighting and arguing.
And too much. There have been times where you have to pick dialogue by Peter Quill, and I'm like, stop. I'm like trying to do this.
Yeah, or like you're like listening to something you picked up, and then they're arguing in the background. I'm like, I can't hear this guy. Like, I just want to hear what this is about. It's just little things. But again, I think it's beautiful. One of the best looking games for me at least. And the voice acting is one voice actor I don't like. I can't stand Peter Quill, Chance. I think he's hands down the worst iteration of Peter Quill I've had. I can't stand him. I'm like, every time you talk, just shut up. Like, it's bad. Like, I don't know. What do you think of Peter?
I don't remember thinking that. I remember thinking they were all pretty well done. So
yeah, he's the only one I have a problem with. So apparently I have a problem with them. Bubble Boy, what have you been playing?
So I finished my Death's Door. So thank you for that. Got 1,000 out of 1,000 on it.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And it was fun. It wasn't grindy. It wasn't, like when I got to the end, I think I had a handful of trophies left, and there wasn't really a question in my mind that I was going to go for 1,000. Because after you do the umbrella thing, and oh my gosh, after that I did, because there still are some fights after that. I was using those, were they the daggers? The Reaver daggers. I was like, oh man, this game is easy.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine having played
that
it
last
those.
boss with just the umbrella. I was like, oh gosh, I won't.
So
say
I didn't think
don't
the
tell,
last
don't talk
one.
About it.
Yeah, that was not the one that I thought was the hardest.
Oh, okay.
But then, and so that was great, and without spending too much time on it, because Jose hasn't finished it, and like I said last time, I think Dan summed it up really well. When I finished it, I started Disco Elysium finally, because it was on sale.
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
picked it up on sale. I also noticed IGN had done they re-released their top 100 games of all time, and Disco Elysium was on there again, and I have never seen a review about that game that wasn't anything other than just like, this is incredible, it's mesmerizing, it's stunning. I know you'd hate it, Dan. You would get 5 minutes in and be like, this is the worst, I'm done. Chipotle, I think you would probably do it. It is very much like a tabletop RPG. There is no combat whatsoever in it. It's choosing dialogue.
Yeah, I remember that's what Cognito was saying on Defining Dude. That it's just all dialogue, but he's sucked into the dialogue.
And
He
it
couldn't
is.
stop.
That's
Like,
the other
just
thing.
couldn't
So
stop.
I
You're on it all
don't-
the time.
I know, and I'm because I'm always like, I just want to know. I got to do this, and I got to do this, and it is extremely, like, it sucks you in, and the art style is wonderful. The voice acting is phenomenal. Without giving away too much, like, so it's all about like the different sides of your psyche and stuff, and each part of your mind has a different voice actor that's in charge of it, which is really cool. Apparently, before the final cut version, you read all of it. There were no voice actors, and it would have been awful. But like, one of the things, for example, you pick up this necktie early on, and the necktie like talks to you, and he's just vulgar as all get out, and it's hilarious. It's really funny. So I can't recommend it to too many of you. I think, like I said, Chipotle Bear, if you happened to be in a funk and couldn't find anything else. J-Biz, I don't know if he'd like it or not.
I think
And
JB's more of a gameplay guy.
Yeah, but it's intriguing, man.
Yeah.
And,
No,
and
and
the writing is pretty stellar. So
That's exactly what Cog was saying. Is it's the writing, the voice acting. He said was phenomenal. Someone was saying, I can't remember if it was him or Maddie or someone else was saying, like, it's the best voice acting he's ever heard in a game. So shout out to
it is
Disco
really,
Elysium.
really impressive the way that they've done it. And that's what I'm saying. I can't even imagine it would be probably borderline bad without the voice acting. That's what was so surprising to me.
And see,
because it's such a huge part of the game. The whole game is dialogue.
Yeah.
How do you not have?
I hear you on saying, like, you wouldn't think it would be good for me because it's not that I don't like narrative driven things. I just prefer it where it's mixed in well with excellent gameplay. Mass Effect gameplay was solid. It wasn't amazing, but it was pretty dang good, especially by the third one and Andromeda. Andromeda was phenomenal. That's what got me through that game. And then I feel like Halo, yeah, it's a basic, simple story, but it hit hard at certain points with the pilot, with the weapon, with Cortana, like. And I really appreciated that mixed in. I loved how they did it too, like in between the open world parts and then you're in a level, you know? So this definitely probably passed for me. And I appreciate what Guardians is doing story-wise, but the gameplay is just not quite there. But Jose, what have you been playing under your quarantine?
So actually, I haven't been playing a whole lot because I literally was so sick that I didn't want to. I watched a little TV and then would literally need to sleep and stuff. So I actually did get to start Death's Door, which I also really like. And by the next time we record, we can do a full review of it. If you want chance, we could each give our own score because I'm pretty close. I just finished or I'm about to fight the third boss, the guy in the Western Tower, whatever it's called. Really liking it. Just like the art style is beautiful. The music is really awesome. The controls are real tight, which are nice. And it's a crazy small game. Like, I didn't realize, like when you hit download and it was like, all right, 2.9 gigs. And I was like, what? That is like phenomenally small, especially for all that's in that game, which is pretty cool. So I did that. I also got my level 100 in Halo. I also finished the winter event. I made sure to get all of my stuff there as well. So just waiting for Tuesday to get some more stuff for there. And then I actually downloaded Aliens Fireteam Elite. So that'll be what I play as soon as I finish Death's Door. And then I also, because it was on sale, I did pick up Dark Souls 3. So after I finish Fireteam Elite, I'm going to try Dark Souls and we'll go from there and I'll let you know how that's going.
Jose, weren't there some games that Jose needed to play, otherwise we were going to ban him forever?
I thought that was J-Biz. J-Biz hadn't played Cuphead and Hellblade. That was J-Biz.
Wait, Jose hasn't played.
Don't throw salt
Jose
in my
hasn't
face
played
over
Hellblade.
here.
Oh, wait,
I played Hellblade.
You did. Okay.
Yeah, no, he gave it a
I didn't give it a chance
salty
to score.
review. Is what it was.
Yeah, Senwa, I'm not quite sold on it.
To be fair, I do think the new one. I'll play the new one. It looked good.
Yeah, I'm gonna play
if
it.
It's on Game Pass, hell yeah, I'll play it. It looked cool.
It will be on Game Pass, but okay, so maybe it is Jibbiz, and then also X Bacon. Yeah, you haven't played Mass Effect or Skyrim, so banned, perma banned for you.
Banned.
What?
Yeah, he knows. He got mad at me last night when we were messaging about like.
Oh, bacon.
Oh yeah, he was giving me crap because I hadn't played Hades yet, and I was like, dude, you haven't played Skyrim or Mass Effect.
Oh, Jane, you have to play Hades, dude. If you haven't played that, it is good.
I know, it's on my backlog. I'll get there eventually. Oh, by the way, this huge sale that went on, I bought Valhalla. I'm just an AC simp, apparently. I'm just gonna try it out. I didn't get the freaking gold edition season pass. I'm like, let's just see how the base game is.
No,
you know,
they're useless.
Let's move into Xbox news, you guys. Really, the only story this week I wanted to talk about very quickly, and this was pretty crazy, and this is coming from, Mr. Reliable, Wario. I'm pretty sure Wario was the first one to tweet about it. An Xbox achievement list popped up for GoldenEye 007. Boys, I have never played GoldenEye's campaign. I mean, I've started it like the first couple missions, never beat it. Okay, never understood the lore, hated the controls, but now if this is coming out on Game Pass,
there's achievements.
Well, no, not because there's achievement, because it'll have modern controls. I cannot wait for this. Jose, what did you think of the GoldenEye leak? And it's coming. Basically, some people are thinking it's coming to Game Pass and Nintendo Switch Online, apparently, and PC maybe.
I think it's about time. Like, I mean, truly, how many times have I mean, seriously, like, think about how many times we talked about it on this show, how monumental that game was in our childhood. I still vividly remember those nights when you have 4 people on the screen. And, it's so crazy in today's world because we're now online gamers and everybody plays in their own house, on their own system, on their own TV. There were days where like couch co-op was the only way to do that. And so you got used to having a split screen or even the 4-way split. And literally you had to like tell people like, don't look at my screen, right? Like literally that kind of stuff. Like that all stemmed from games like GoldenEye. It's crazy that it has actually taken this long for them to do a proper, I'm assuming 4K or Ultra HD remaster or something like that. Like, that's really cool. I hope, honestly, they actually make the game a little bit more lengthy, because in hindsight, I think we have those rose-colored glasses. It's a pretty short game, like truly, the campaign is, because the multiplayer is what really brought people in. So I don't know if they'll bring both elements or just one, but if it's just a campaign, they might need to add some stuff to it a little bit.
It is the campaign and the multiplayer, like their achievements for multiplayer stuff. So if it has online, people are going to be with those nostalgia glasses for sure. Bubble Boy, any thoughts on GoldenEye coming out?
I can remember the level at the dam and thinking that was pretty crazy and pretty cool. Like when he jumps off it at the end, being like, wow, this is incredible.
Nothing's going to top this.
That's all I remember from the campaign. So,
Jose, did you beat it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. The original ones, yeah.
I have, like I said, I've maybe played a little bit. I remember I thought the controls were bad because maybe I went back and played it after playing other FPS. So I was like, this is not working for me.
But you remember, like when we were kids, the games didn't come out that frequently. So like I bought the game. What else was I going to do? I couldn't just be like, oh, I'll download something else from Game Pass. Like I played every hour of that game because there was literally nothing else to do.
Well, you were big into the 64. That's the other part.
Yeah,
I was so sucked into PlayStation at that point. So it just... my brother got the 64. That's what it was. I don't think we ever owned that in my family. It was always just Mario Kart, Mario, Zelda. We never owned GoldenEye because my brother was younger, and my parents were like, we're not going to get him that, and I had no desire to play it. So I will be playing GoldenEye and seeing. I'm going to guess it doesn't hold up, but that was the only one story. We're recording after Christmas and New Year's, but I'd love, guys, to continue our analysis of Power on the story of Xbox, and we are on chapter 2, I believe. And what was do anyone remember the
Valentine's Day Massacre? The
Valentine's Day Massacre. So Jose, do we want to go through let's just do the same thing where I'll kind of go through my notes of what happened in the episode, and then when you guys want to jump in, please let me know. So sorry, it's chapter 2, the Valentine's Day Massacre. The battle to own the living room is on, but not without significant cost and risk. Chapter 2 of Power On, the story of Xbox. Xbox almost didn't happen. Find out why in this behind-the-scenes 6-part series that take you back to the scrappy beginnings of Microsoft's console. So, episode 2, I'm just going to jump right into it. Again, just jump in whenever I mention something and you want to come or raise your hand or whatever. So I have Rick Thompson. Worked for Microsoft previously for their hardware division, then transitions to Xbox hardware. Sega, Sony, Nintendo would make their consoles and sell at a loss, then made money in game sales. And this was the business model at the time. Still the business model. I don't think Microsoft is making money on theirs yet. I think Sony did say they're profitable on PlayStation 5. To start a console, you would lose $2 billion at a chance just to make money, maybe eventually. 11 months were given to make the console announcement for the March GDC 2000 event, the Game Developers Conference in March of 2000. Thompson wanted to propose that Microsoft buy out Nintendo, but that was a big no from Nintendo. And I remember, I think it was Seamus or somebody was saying that when they had this meeting, they were basically laughed out of the office and out of the meeting because it was
No, that was with OEM. They were laughed out of the OEM meeting, not the Nintendo one.
Well, I'm saying I feel like somebody mentioned Nintendo did the same thing. Not in this story. Sorry, I should have said that. Not in this documentary. Then we have Jay Allard enters the picture. He sends out the memo that broadband is the future, and he sends this out to Bill Gates. And he was kind of like a renegade out there for Microsoft. And like Jose, we mentioned this last episode, less than 5% of the world at the time had broadband internet access. Go ahead, Chipo.
I was going to say, so this part of the show is actually hilarious because they like introduce Jay Allard and they show him when in his youth and he would like skateboard to work in this like baggy pants and shirt. And then they showed him in like, I'm assuming like relatively newer times, and he was doing the exact same thing. And he was clearly like the kind of the cool kid, I guess, at Microsoft. That like everyone's like, oh, he's so rad. But Bill Gates would like listen to him. And there was a famous clip where Bill Gates like, it's pretty hip to be on the internet right now. But Jay Allard he was like, you guys, we need to be on the internet like yesterday because it's the future of gaming. And it always makes me think of that clip from I think it was either Clerks or one of the Jay and Silent Bob movies where he's like, what the is the internet? You know what I mean? Like that's literally what I felt like most of the people were doing at that time. But really crazy, man. Like that literally, I never knew that they tried to buy Nintendo. Did you guys know that? That was the one thing I was surprised about.
I didn't know that until recently, yeah, which would have been crazy to think about. But I mean, a pretty conservative Japanese company, right? I mean, they still are. Like,
yeah, and he even said in the video, he said it's a national treasure of the country. Like literally, that is one of their national treasures. Is that company? There's no way they would sell it to Microsoft. So anyway, keep going, man. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Thank you. No, I want you guys to interrupt. At first, ideas were if they put a console in the living room, it is going to run like Windows and do Windows things. And Seamus was like, Windows is great and does a lot of great things, but for video games, you have to be fast. You cannot have other things slowing the box down. We're not going to do this other random Windows stuff. It needs to be all about the games. The Xbox team then steal the Windows kernel off of a server before a big update and started breaking it down. It was 4.5, I hope these numbers are right, megabytes down to 250 kilobytes operating system. Jose, did you guys have any notes about this? Because I kind of was like taking notes so much about this.
I thought that part was fascinating. Me too. That they actually did that and then told people about it. I know it's certainly not like stealing like in the sense of like they went from Microsoft and went to Apple, but they still definitely stole from within their own company to the point where if the wrong person had found out at the wrong time, Xbox just gone, never would have existed. They'd have been like, how dare you? And then the fact that when I think about it now, I think I still can't quite comprehend what 200 some kilobytes would have been. back
Oh my
then,
God.
but it sounds
Massive
like a
then.
drop in the bucket, right? Of what it could have been.
Well, you think about that. So today, if you were to download an MP3 to your iPhone, it's probably close to the same amount of megabytes that the entire NT kernel for
Yeah.
Windows ran. That
So
is
there's that,
insane.
and then the thong song are they're the exact same amount. Of
Dun,
data.
dun, dun, dun.
And literally that then they stripped it down. And like, and what's so crazy too, because like you just what to give some context, because Dan skipped over, was that they said really, look, we need a really fast operating system. And I know that Bill Gates, he wants Windows in Xbox because that's just like promoting his brand. That's just saying like, look how good it is. We also put it in a gaming console. And they just realized like that can't be what this is going to be. If it's going to work, it has to be this really minimal thing. And they said, this is what we want, but they basically wouldn't give it to him. Like they said, no, we're not going to give you access to the Windows kernel. And so I just pictured them like they were in someone's apartment and drinking pizza and beer. And like they finally were drunk enough and someone's like, I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence. That's what I'm going to do. And literally that's what they did. They stuck into the server room and ripped a copy. And then they basically just did what they needed to until it was ready. And then finally someone said like, who's going to tell Dad? Someone has to go tell Bill what we've built with this thing, because that's what it's going to take.
Exactly, and that leads into.
Well,
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
go
can
ahead.
I jump in? Because I think that who's going to tell Dad? I don't. Did you just make that up, Jose? Because I don't remember it from the show. But it's a perfect analogy of what was going on there. Because I think it would. That'd be one of the only people, right? Like we're all fathers now. You can think about if your kid like wanted to take your legacy and then be like, oh, but I don't want to use what your baby was at all. I want to do this other thing. I'm still just floored at that they had the gumption within themselves to go to Bill Gates of all people and be like, yeah, your product sucks for this. This is not where we're going. You just gave us $2 billion, but we're going the exact opposite direction. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, and so that leads to the Valentine's Day Massacre, February 14th, 2000. So this is what, a month before the conference and everything is going down. They go to Bill and tell him that the Xbox was not going to run Windows like he thought. And after seeing a PowerPoint of what the Xbox was shaping up to be, Jose, I'm going to need that censor here. This is a insult to everything I've accomplished. And the yelling and the screaming and the anger happens. So they give me some more details. But I remember one of the guys was like, okay, well then let's not do it. We haven't announced anything. We can always back out of this. No one knows this exists. But Jose, go ahead. And then I'll tell you how it picks up after that.
No, I mean, that's exactly it. That they realize we have to tell Bill, because we're going to present this thing. He's going to want to see the operating system. Like it's like one of those where like either we're going to tell him or someone else is going to tell him. And even though it's going to suck either way, it's going to be way worse if someone else tells him and we don't. And so they, I don't know why they would ahead of time, they sent him all the PowerPoints like to read over ahead of time, or maybe he requested it. I don't know. And then he walked into the room and literally they described it as like, imagine like the top execs of Microsoft at this table. And then around them were these like junior cadets of everybody. So basically everybody in this room who are like your final stampers.
Oh, it's like the Joint Chief of Staff meeting, right? Like for
Yeah,
the
truly.
government, where they
You have this is your last thing to be fully funded, like approved. And Bill Gates walks in and throws down the things, and he basically just like lays into all of the guys. And the reason they call it the Valentine's Day Massacre was because they all had Valentine's plans, but they didn't even get to go home and have dinner because they just got yelled at and were getting chewed out for hours and hours and hours. And like Dan said, finally, I think it was Ed Freeze said like, well, why don't we just cancel it? No, we haven't announced it yet. And then somebody, they didn't know who in the story, but someone in the back said, well, what about PlayStation?
Yeah, Sony is out there growing is what was brought up.
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
And then things change, right? Like they don't really say how things change.
a little bit. They kind of because Steve Ballmer steps in a little bit there, and that was
that's what it was. He was
kind
saying,
of where I wanted to jump in at was that imagine. Think of something that you've ever cared about or been passionate about, and imagine to be able to have that kind of a lack of an ego for Bill Gates to be like, okay, we'll see. You guys impressed me. We'll see what you have going here, and I think it was Steve Ballmer that was when
his
back
influence.
to some of those other meetings where he kind of was like, hey, I'm not on board with this, but if you can do X, Y, and Z for me, then sure.
Yeah, I see the potential.
Yeah, it's so crazy to think that like all these guys' ideas, and they were right. Like internet connectivity, Sony being out, and the PS2 was a massive success with the DVD drive. Like, and just to enter it's so crazy to think about how Microsoft got into this. You're absolutely right, Jose. Like it must have been the biggest crazy of a joke. So we'll get into that more of that either. So.
Because that game developers conference is, I think, what... Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
Ahead of you.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. So I just wanted to say, so yeah, like Chance said, Bill was swayed, and he says, all right, let's do it. We're doing this. And they were approved for initial funding of $1 billion. So Seamus and the team at that point knew Xbox had to have games. Give game developers easy access to develop games, unlike the PS2 at the time. And so they're like, well, we need to have something to show as well. And that's where Horace Luke comes in, the creative director of Xbox, enters to design the prototype console, the green portal trapped with power in the middle, as he described it, inside the giant Chrome X, the world's messiest PC build on the inside. Jose, let's hear what you thought of the aesthetics of this prototype, because I know you're all about that.
So no joke, after I was watching this again today for the second time and taking some notes, I went on eBay I was like, are any of these prototypes out there? I'm just curious. Like, they have to be somewhere, right? They made 3 of them. They said that in the story. I wonder if they were ever for sale, what they cost, but they were this hideous I don't know, question mark. Like, I don't think they were ugly. They just weren't what I would want in my home entertainment center. And they explained that. They said, like, look, this is like a show model that we're trying to make a big, like, splash at this conference because we're a brand new company. And even Horace Luke said to himself, he's like, I'm here to tell a story. It's more like this nuclear reactor.
Dude,
and it's unstable.
And he's an artist.
He was an artist, basically. And so, they had to know that wasn't really ever what they were going to put in people's homes, but it definitely made a splash. And people, when they saw it on stage, when they unveiled it and it had the green laser in the front, like, people were kind of like, okay, Xbox, I see you. You know what I'm saying? After they kind of had made fun of them. But just, you think about it. What if it did look like that today? Would you put that in your entertainment center? I'm curious. Would you guys do that?
I mean, if it was a modified, like a small form factor.
Yeah, and it wasn't the look so much as, didn't they say it weighed like 45 pounds?
Yeah, 40 pounds.
And they were talking about how they were just buffing it out for like hours. Pretty crazy. And so we'll get back to it just being a mess on the inside, because that'll tie into it. I wanted to mention here, so we're at the March 20th, 2000, the Game Developers Conference. Seamus was going to be the demo guy for the announcement. And it goes into a little bit of his history, which I didn't know about. And he had previously shipped the Broken Trespasser game, which was this Jurassic Park inspired game with what's
not inspired. He was licensed, like he was a Jurassic Park.
George Lucas,
Steven Spielberg involved,
Spielberg.
Crazy, and like, so Seamus was coming in with this huge baggage of this, just a failure of a game, horrible physics. It was broken.
Worst game of the year, like official,
just an absolute And he was saying how nervous he was, because he knew that everyone was looking at him like, oh gosh, this is the guy who shipped Trespasser, and now he's going to be talking to us about this new console. How is this going to do well? And before he's coming out there, right, they're in the back. All the prototypes are broken. None of them are working. He's literally in the back just trying to get it to run. And I'll let you guys talk about this in a second. But they bring out, Bill Gates brings about, it looks so awkward for 2000. I don't remember 2000s being that awkward, but maybe it's because it was the GDC. And then they bring out Seamus, and Seamus brings him a leather jacket that, of course, doesn't fit. They start the demo. At first, it was with the desk demo with some of the physics going on there. Then it went to the water. And I do remember the water physics being a huge deal, specifically with Morrowind. I remember Alan showed me that, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. These water graphics are crazy. And then they talked about how it only took a day to get this stuff running. The physics demo with the ping pong ball and the mouse traps all going off. And then Raven and the robot demo. And take it away, Chance or Jose, about the reaction. I think, Chance, you were going to say about the reaction, the developers seeing the Xbox running this stuff for the first time.
Yeah, and that's the part where you have to, like, take into account all those people's individual feelings, right? And think about if you've ever worked with someone that you didn't really necessarily like, and then they got the green light to go do something else, and you're like, yeah, no way, come on. Like, I think I'm shocked that they chose him to go up there and do it, and then the fact that all those people had to have been thoroughly convinced, because they're already looking at him like he's an idiot, or that, you know, that this better be beyond redeeming. But it was all those interviews afterwards that I thought were so captivating, that they were all just like, oh, you mean we can actually work with this stuff and it's not all written in Japanese? And I just imagine, I can't quite think of, I mean I guess like Infinite Campus would be something that we all use all day every day. Like, imagine if someone came to us and was like, there's this thing that blows Infinite Campus out of the water.
I'm sold.
It's called Power School. Right? No, kidding. That you'd be like, I'm interested. Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about this, and how exciting that must have been for some of those developers.
Well, and
Jose, any thoughts? Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, to add on that, so one other thing they mentioned that I just thought was really, I mean, maybe deceptive, but I thought was really smart, was that even though the prototypes were they were broken when they got there, and that's what Seamus was doing in the back. He was trying to fix one of them to get it working. He was like, we need a backup plan. And so he literally had a guy under the stage who was ready to like switch the video to like basically like a demo running from a PC. They would do the same thing, so it wasn't really lying, but it wasn't actually running from that demo console. So they were smart about that piece, which was really great, because they knew how much was on the line. And you know, at the end of the day, they mentioned a lot about the idea that games were going to be what were going to kill or help this game system survive. They recognized that games were the future of this console, and that's what this really the conference is really about. Game developers. It's not about the people that play the games. It's about the people that make the games, and that's what this was so impressive for them. They were like, they wanted to give them as many possible tools as they could. But the other part, one of you said earlier, was like, why did they pick Seamus? But it's, who else would they pick? Right? Like, I mean, truly, like Kevin Backus, who not dissing Kevin Backus, but they described him as a Vulcan. I don't think you want the Vulcan presenting to you on stage, right? Or like Ed Freeze, he's the boss. He's not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, there may have just been no one else. And Seamus was really animated, and he knew what he was, right?
And he had a lot of experience making games, too.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense, too. Yeah, no, big shout out to Seamus. So I kind of closed off here after that. The people reacted well to it.
Real quick, because I had one other thing I wanted to say, because I think Chipotle, you watched Silicon Valley, right? Daniel,
loved it. Every season.
Oh yeah, you got to go back and watch it, because they go to the thing called TechCrunch, and
which is a real thing, by the way.
But I feel like that whole storyline, I didn't know about this Xbox storyline. I was like, oh my gosh, they clearly knew about this. Like, they didn't necessarily steal it, but I was like, these are identical stories.
Really?
Yeah,
it's
really
pretty cool.
Jose, I was going to say the whole demo thing. I think they still do that. They always have someone backing up the demos, even like to this day. Like, they still have like the backup of somebody playing in the background. So then we get into the naming of what should the name of this console be, and it closed out with Mike Nichols, marketing of Xbox from 2004 to 2019. Quote, naming is the worst part, and no one likes it ever. And so they had all these naming experts. They started to read some of those names. I'm sure you guys wrote some of them. I hope you did, because I couldn't write them all. And then they had all this research done. They had these people come down and be like, all right, this is going to be the name of your next console. And they announced it. The Microsoft 11X. And then they all look at each other like, we're going to go with Xbox. That was Kaka. And then they had some other groups, some other focus groups with younger people, and they're always like, you can't have Microsoft in the name, though. It's just got to be Xbox. I remember that was like, Microsoft, that's nerdy and stuff like that. What do you think of PlayStation? You think of a lion, and they said, like, you squished the Microsoft Xbox.
No, it was a spider. It could kill you, but it's annoying, and you want to smash it.
Go ahead. So tell me some of the names. What did you guys think? I remember, Chance, you were talking about this. To be fair, I don't think 11X is that bad compared to the other names. I think it was the best. But
I mean,
Xbox,
compared to a poop sandwich,
man.
You know,
it's crazy to me that there would have been that many people making that much money, and I don't know what number that is, but that they were at the end, they were just like, yeah, never mind, we're gonna go with Xbox, which has been written up there on the wall forever. Like, it's like, did those guys then get to go be like, okay, I take your paycheck and I take your paycheck?
Yeah, I did your work for you.
I can't even imagine. Again, that's not the world we work in, but like, just having
marketing.
months probably that they spent on that, and what the end result was laughable.
Rich.
Yeah, some of my favorites
Dude,
were
Go
Norbo,
ahead.
Zod, XOD,
Zod isn't bad. Zod isn't
Vibe
bad.
with a Y,
That was terrible.
Xantra with an X,
The pill,
OG,
yep.
Velvet, and Carpet Ride. Just Carpet
Oh
Ride.
yeah,
Not-
carpet ride. Those are some good. Yeah,
Oh, my
Zod
gosh.
isn't bad. I'm gonna play my Zod. OG. I thought OG was okay, but did OG have the same like context that it does now? Probably not. Then maybe.
No, I don't think Original Gangster was what Microsoft was talking about.
Yeah, well, they just were. Xbox is solid. Like they just
And
had
there's-
something crazy at the beginning. Like to be fair, like that they struck gold with that. That is a solid name. Go ahead, Chance.
The Zod was, I assume, a nod to Superman, right?
Yeah, me
like
too.
a blending of those two. So
Oh,
I could see a little bit of yeah. And maybe that's another one of those I would have loved to have been in one of those meetings
Yeah.
where how many
Throwing
different
out ideas.
people, yeah, how many different people knew that Xbox was the original name on that whiteboard, right? Were all those marketing people there and they knew, okay, here's what our code name for this
Oh,
is.
you're
Now
right.
we got to make it better.
Yeah,
Or
what if they had seen
no
that and been
idea-
like, Xbox is a great name, guys. You don't need us. They had to have
Yeah.
known, right? You think that
You would think
the
so,
code name?
but
Yeah, because the X.
Yeah.
Or maybe they only knew it was Direct Xbox, right? Like
Yeah.
they didn't know the. I don't know.
It's crazy,
It's
though.
all fascinating to me.
So that is where episode 2 basically ends. Can't wait for 3, 4, it's 6 parts, right? Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see.
No,
like,
but
the
it
launch
ends
of it
with
in
the
360.
issue that
Sorry, go
are
ahead.
they going to, like you said earlier, are they going to call it just Xbox or Microsoft Xbox? Because the argument they made was like, you might as well call it Nerdbox. That's literally
Yeah.
a quote that they said because Microsoft was seen as this very like khaki wearing, broken glasses wearing, pocket protector, nerdy thing. Like, and if we're trying to be cool like Nintendo and PlayStation, this is a problem. And like the other problem is like, who's going to tell Bill Gates that we're not using Microsoft because that's dad. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah.
vote not me.
All their money. Yeah. So can't wait to jump into the next episode, you guys. If you have any thoughts about this, please, X Bacon, all of our listeners, please hit us up. James, Todd, write in, please, at xboxrecordthis@gmail.com.
The other
Go
thing
ahead,
we
Chance.
didn't talk about was the conclusion of like the little Mortal Kombat.
I don't remember this Mortal Kombat part, by the way. I have no
It was
idea
only in
what
the
you're
first
talking
episode,
about.
but yes, I remember.
Really? I thought it was in. The
I was like,
second,
what are you
too.
talking about, Mortal Kombat?
Dang it. Okay. Well, so when them and those what was it the
CE,
Never mind.
Microsoft CE.
Yeah, just never mind.
Okay, let's move on. Bubble Boy, why don't you introduce our good old days segment?
Good old days.
And then I'm going to
yeah.
grab mine right over here. Give me a second. So go ahead and start while I grab these, okay?
So I thought about it after having a pretty solid Christmas this year. Got some pretty neat things, and topping that list was the stuff that I got here on XRT. Gosh, was that just last week or 2 weeks ago? So I thought for the good old days, what was our top 5 most memorable Christmas presents that we ever had? And I'll kind of preface this, or I don't know if I had said this online or in the nerd chat or not, but I'll say it online here that obviously there are things that are super sentimental to me that my wife has gotten me, or I imagine like it would be really easy for Chipotle Bear to say, well, Penelope was born just a couple of days before Christmas.
Correct.
So that's the greatest Christmas present I've ever gotten, right? But like, and those are not on my list, at least, those kinds of things. And I'm not saying Jose would be wrong if he put Penelope on there, but this was more, what I was thinking of was more like just those little giddy kids, like, I got it. Like the kid when he gets the Super Nintendo, that meme, right? Because I've had some things like my trip to Europe on that European river cruise that actually
Viking cruise, right?
nothing, yeah, nothing will ever beat that, but that's not necessarily what we're talking about here. So I will start, I think, and coming in at number 5. The only thing that I couldn't do was I can't remember the exact years that I got each of these, but
neither.
you'll definitely notice a theme here. So number 5, the Mighty Max Blasts Magus, and if you didn't know what Mighty Max was, it was a cartoon, but the toys that it came with were these little like the boy version of Polly Pockets, and so
Yep.
they would have these whole worlds in these little things, and they would pop up. But the Mighty Magus one was this huge like beast guy, and he was a whole figure in himself, and he would open up, and you could have all kinds of fun inside of him. And I loved those Mighty Magus.
That's what she said.
Number 4, and this will kick off the theme that you'll notice going on, is I got a red Game Boy Color. I will never forget that one, and I believe that Chase got like a yellow one that year. I got a red one, and Chase got a yellow one that year.
Jeez.
Exactly. And this one is honestly, I can remember being the most excited about on my house Alpha Alkire, Jose, was the Fisher-Price tournament table, 3-in-1 Fisher-Price tournament table, which
It's
had
like Crossfire,
ping
kind of.
pong, ping pong, pool.
Too rich for
and-
me. I never got one of those.
Yep, and air hockey, and just me and Chase were just playing pool for hours and hours and hours. We left it in the living room for like months. It was just
Like, Mom, this is just going to stay here. It's a permanent fixture now.
Yep. Number 2, a Barry Sanders jersey that I got one year for Christmas that I was really excited about and still
Respect.
have to this day. And like the only thing left on it that you can see is like Nders, like, but like the E is gone and so much of it's gone. And then number 1, couldn't not have the Super Nintendo on there when we got the Super Nintendo. So.
Very nice.
I love
little
it.
Boy.
Yep.
Let me go next here. We'll have Jose. So I don't have many toys, which makes me sad, but there is one that stands out, and I will get to that. So for numbers 5 through 2, these are surprisingly, when you're a kid and you hate getting clothes, but as I got older, these are some of my favorite gifts that I got on Christmas, which is crazy. So number 5, again, these are all my favorites, but this one, actually, I'm gonna put this one higher. We're gonna pull it audible. We'll do it in the order that I have it written down. Is my N7 Commander Shepard hoodie. I can't quite remember who got me this. It might have been an ex-girlfriend who starts with the letter T, but whatever. I still have it. It's amazing. Then, number 4, this is what I got from last year. This sweet Broncos, kind of, like a light pullover with a hood. Look at the beautiful orange and the Broncos symbol right there. Pretty dang comfortable, perfect for those spring/fall days. Broncos, little pullover. What would you call this material? The dry fit, of course. What was I thinking? Then, number 3, another Broncos, and this might be my crown jewel of Broncos gear. Even Chance has to give respect to the alternate Broncos logo, which you do not see very often. Multiple times when I wear this in public, people have commented being like, that is a sick jacket. This was apparently a limited drop from a few years ago. Allie got this for me. Amazing Broncos alternate logo there. The only problem with it is it's dry fit right here on like this part of the sleeve, this last half, and then it's like a windbreaker material, so I can't quite get the most use out of wearing this. But again, every time I wear this guy at Costco, he knew, he's like, I think I told you guys this, he's like, I worked at Dick's and I know that was a limited drop, and that is the sickest hoodie I've ever out of all the Broncos gear. I'm not even kidding. He talked to me about it for 5 minutes. So
To be
shout
fair, he
to
hangs out with
this one.
that hot Costco guy every Saturday.
And then number 2, this is my CU Buffs hoodie. I have had this. I think
The
my
most
parents
worn hoodie of all.
Yes, it's been on. Like, I've worn this so much. I can't even tell. I think I got this right after college, and it's still in immaculate shape. Like, you couldn't tell that this isn't brand new. I don't know what it was about this hoodie or the material, you guys, but nothing is worn out. It is insane how much this hoodie has held up. So shout out to my parents for getting me this awesome Skull Buffs, CU hoodie. Colorado Buffaloes right there. And then number 1, the same as Bubble Boy, my Super Nintendo that I got. Shout out to Tia Lupi. She got me the Super Nintendo with, I think, obviously bundled with Super Mario World, but she also got me a Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. And it was from that moment on that I was just super into gaming. And I will never forget, that is hands down the greatest gift as a child, especially, that I ever got. So, Chipotle Bear, what about you?
Well, fun fact, Chance, did you actually know that's how the twins were born? Allie came home and Dan just had that N7 hoodie on, and
Just that.
and 9 months later, we got the twins. Fantastic. To round it out,
yes.
this is not my top 5, but I have to show it because my mom got it for me this year. The Xbox 117 shirt.
Oh,
which
I
is
was just
super
about
sick.
to buy that. It's in my cart.
Gosh,
Gosh,
it's
sweet.
super sick.
There's so
it's
much
very
merch
soft,
I need to
which
get.
is nice. My number 5, 4 of mine are video game themed, by the way. I sat down with my parents over Christmas. I was like, help me think through, like, what were some of the ones that I just was like freaking out about? And one of them I was surprised, but they said, no, you were going just bananas for this. And it was my number 5. It was my Game Boy, like the original gray Game Boy with the red buttons
Yeah,
and the
I
joystick. They were
believe
like, you played the crap out of that. And like, God, I still have it upstairs. It's in a drawer. And the screen on it is so tiny. Like, I don't know how my little eyes are not more jacked up because I just stared at it. There was no backlight. You had to play it in light and stuff
Fun
like
fact,
that.
Jose, the whole kids being too close to screens, it's not an issue for them. That's actually not bad for them at all. That's an urban, what's the word? I can't think of it.
Urban myth?
Yeah,
Urban
it's
legend.
Not true.
Urban
It's not
legend.
urban myth. Yeah, it is. It literally is. Like, you don't have to worry about your kids staying close because their eyes can like analyze and do well with that. So you don't have to worry about that. Anyway,
Well, that's great because they do that anyway. My number
no,
4
exactly.
was my N64, and part of it was because I was actually old enough, and I mentioned this on the show, to recognize how rare it was going to be even get one. Like at that point, I knew some specifics about Christmas that changed the way you look at Christmas, right? And I knew I really wanted one, but I also like told my mom, like, look, if you can't, it's okay. Like, we'll just wait until. And she, you know, my mom, who's amazing and phenomenal, like literally was like one of those moms, like in line at 6 a.m. when Toys R Us opened, and she literally said she had to like push ladies to get controllers and stuff like that. But my mom
Shout out
came
Annette.
through.
Shout out
Shout out
Annette.
to my mom for
Shout out,
getting
shout
our
out.
N64. I just remember opening that with like multiple controllers on day one, and just like that's
Jose,
part of why GoldenEye is awesome.
I got to jump in here too. My parents did the same thing except for the Wii. They got me and my brother a one, like, you know, when it launched, waiting. I remember they said they waited up multiple Targets at like 3 a.m. and I didn't have my list because, let's be honest, the Wii sucked. So shout out to my parents for doing that, but that console was trash, straight garbage. I sold it for on profit and went to a Third Eye Blind concert instead that spring break. So shout out. Thanks, Mom and Dad.
It's hilarious. My number 3 was my original OG Xbox, which I also got from my mom. And he was one of those where at the time I wanted a PlayStation 2. And my mom was like, no, this new thing's coming out. It's the Xbox. And I was like, okay, Mom, I trust you. I mean, she like watched the news and all that stuff and was like, this is the new hotness, as the kids would say. And she was right. And look what it's done for me today.
She knew.
Which is fantastic. And then my number 2, the only non-video game one on my list, was my original set of Ninja Turtle toys, which was a Christmas, and it was, my mom got me the complete, my mom and dad, not just my mom, but my mom and dad got me a complete
Got
set.
the complete original.
I mean, literally all 12.
Oh,
like, no, 12. Like, I had the Turtles,
with the
Master
enemies?
Splinter,
Oh
April
my
O'Neil,
gosh.
Baxter
Tell me
Stockman,
you still
Master
have
Shredder.
those.
I don't. I'm an idiot. And here's the thing, they also got me the play set, the sewer play set. And here's what's crazy, fun fact about this. I guess, so when they shipped these in boxes, they would have duplicates of all of the characters except for Master Splinter. There was only one Master Splinter in every box. And so literally my mom, when she went to Toys R Us, had to like call a kid to like go get the boxes from up top and be like, I need this toy. And they're like, it's not here. And she's like, I can see the box. Like, literally forced this teenage kid to get this thing down. So again, my wonderful mother who hooked it up with my Ninja Turtles. I wish I still had them. They would be worth so much money if I still had them. And then my number 1, like my 2 other co-hosts, and we did not play in this, is my Super Nintendo, because truly it's what got us all into this world of gaming. And even as a 7-year-old boy, God, the hours that I pumped into Super Mario World, you know, who gave me those twitch reflexes now that I'm in my late 30s. You know, I'm so grateful. So those were our top Xmas gifts of all time. It was a good.
Yeah, that's
ride to think
awesome.
about.
That
Pretty
we all
crazy.
had the exact same number one.
That
That's
just
pretty-
shows how monumental the Super Nintendo
impressive.
was,
And
especially
I
at our
don't-
age too. Like, it was like
Right.
that perfect age to where we could get into,
Yeah,
because I
'cause was
played
it
Nintendo
92?
before.
Is that when?
Yeah,
92 or
like that.
93, one of those.
That was the other thing I wanted to go back and see, because we're just used to it right now, right? That holiday season is when all the biggest games typically come out. Was that a thing back then too? You know, I know Black Friday was a thing, but was it like it is now? I don't know. You know,
I think it was, because that's when retailers know that they're going to sell units.
Yeah.
Like, they all aim for the holiday season.
And maybe that's why it's still kind of like that. I don't like that. Like, I think now, just if you're big enough, release your game whenever, people are going to buy it. You know, I hear you. I just think things have changed, especially with Game Pass and digital games.
Yeah.
Like, it's not as, you know, there's more access to game. Great, good old days segment right there. the power of the Super Nintendo. A lot of respect, big ups to the SNES. If you have an idea for the good old days or a warm-up question, please write to us at xboxrecordthis@gmail.com or any social media at xboxrecordthis. We had a little internal debate here on whether or not we should change the name of the podcast, but I think we're going to... Okay, Bubble Boy is saying no. I thought about changing my name again recently, but we'll save that for another topic. My name
your gamer tag?
Yeah, my gamer tag. I thought about... We'll talk about it later.
That's a good topic. What would you change it to?
Almost
top two choices.
No, I told you.
Lucky
My other,
I cut
my
you
other,
off because you were about to say my name's DaddyDWALLY.
Allie, come on the show. Perfect.
You forgot to.
Come on
yeah,
over.
let's hear Allie's best food of the week.
Allie, come here. What's your best food of the week? Chance and Jose would like to know. Come on over. Can you come on camera, please, dear? This is an audio and video podcast. Okay, she's got that cock up. What was the best food you had this week? Not
Wow.
Papa John's.
Papa John's. Oh
no. You can't think of anything.
You are in trouble, man.
Okay, she's stalling.
just
Anyway, guys.
Announced in front of our millions of listeners.
I already said it earlier. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Good night, Allie. Thanks for coming. Love you. Good night. She can't think of food right now. She gets. Why do women, not significant others, don't want to come onto the camera and talk on this awesome podcast?
Cora demands to every time. Daddy, are you podcasting tonight? Can I wave?
Yeah, you're right. The kids.
I don't know. I'll get us back on track here. I went to Real de Minas over off of Parker and Arapahoe, and one of the best staples that I can always think of in a Mexican restaurant, what makes a really, truly good Mexican restaurant, is not just when they bring out salsa, but they bring out salsa and a bean dip. And Real de Minas has a wonderful bean and cheese dip that they bring out just for, with the chips at the beginning. And then we got fajitas that are hard to not be phenomenal. So best food of the week, Real de Minas on Parker and Arapahoe.
I'll go next, Chipotle Bear. My best food this week was good old Chipotle. I had it, I hadn't had it in a while. A steak burrito. Yeah, actually, can I make that double steak? And then, you know the rest, queso, green and corn. I also had a free chips and guac for my birthday that I was able to redeem, which was perfect timing. Had that. Allie got a burrito that was no meat. Just everything but meat, and I was very confused by it. Like, at least throw in some chicken, but Chipotle always is delicious. And even though I'm paying for it now, or what we think we're paying for it, the Papa John's stuffed crust still delicious. I will be going back. I don't know if Allie's gonna ever have it again, but I will have their stuffed crust pizza because it's delicious. Jose,
does Peyton Manning know? Did you call him
did he sell his franchise?
Give him some feedback.
I thought he got rid of his.
I thought so too. The Colorado ones, I think.
Yeah, go ahead, Jose.
So mine is a little different because we literally have not been able to leave our home since we last recorded. But nonetheless, my wife has done some awesome things to keep things interesting. But my favorite thing that we cooked was a homemade pizzas. So we just got the Pillsbury dough, and the girls got to make their pizzas. They of course made kitty pizzas with the pepperonis and sausage and olives, and my wife and I made our own, which was great, but it was delicious. And then today, thanks to my mother-in-law, she actually went to Chipotle for us and brought us Chipotle for lunch, which was super clutch, just because it was like a taste of the outside world that we could enjoy. And it was phenomenal, as always. Helped me clear the sinuses a little bit, which has been nice. Gotta love Chipotle.
That has been the best food we had this week. I almost forgot to do that, by the way. I was closing the show without you guys. My name is DaddyDWALLY.
Oh, I
You
know.
can find me at all social media at DaddyDWALLY. Chipotle Bear, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram, Chipotle Bear, or on Twitter, Chipotle_Bear.
And Bubble Boy, are you still on social media? Or
What's social media?
as always, gentlemen, see you online.
See you online.
See you online.
What is this?
A center for ants.
A center for ants? What? How can we be expected to teach children to learn how to read if they can't even fit inside the building?
Derek, it's just a
I don't want to hear your excuses! The center has to be at least 3 times bigger than this.
He's absolutely right.
Xbox Record This is a podcast created by Daniel Walenzik. You can follow him at DaddyDWALLY on all social media. The assistant to the co-host is Jose Martinez, and you can follow him at Chipotle_bear on Twitter. The assistant to the co-host is Chance Siegel, and you can follow him at BubbleBoyN7. You can follow the show at Xbox Record This on all social media. If you'd like to find out more about the show, visit xboxrecordthis.com.